Greta here from Knitters and Critters, and it has been a hot moment since we've talked about Campaign 3. So I thought I would just do a quick rundown of my favorite moments from the Zephrah arc, episodes 66 through 70. So yeah, it's been a while. I really had to go through my notes to kind of like remind myself what had happened. And a lot kind of did go down. Obviously, the Bell's Hells went to Zephrah trying to search out some maybe help from Keyleth, but it ended up being that she was in no state to help anyone with anything. It was definitely a new side of Keyleth than we've ever seen before. She was not just physically injured, but like emotionally. You could just tell that she was much more brittle than we've ever seen her before. And I have to say, I loved watching Marisha watch Matt as he was playing those scenes. Um, yeah, it just really felt like that immortal life that Keyleth had, not only as an elf, but as this arch druid figure is really starting to weigh on her. And obviously, the loss of Vax all over again has to be excruciating. Just in the way that she kept looking to that empty perch out her window. I was watching one of the most recent Four-Sided Dives. This reminds me, and Marisha was talking about like how messed up it is that Vax is still sending the ravens to check in on her every once in a while. And she's like, it's sweet, but at the same time, how could she ever move on after that? And the rest of the cast just kind of laughed, like, yeah, that is kind of effed up, but it's also completely a Vax move to make. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, hearing that, it kind of made me reconsider wanting Vax to get deorbed. Like, a terrible, terrible fate for Vax. Hopefully, like, okay, obviously, hopefully that he doesn't have to stay in agony forever and ever and ever. But poor Keyleth, like, girl, it might be time to set some boundaries and tell that Raven boy that I need to live my life. You chose the Raven Queen. I need to choose me. Oh God, I feel like I just went on like a self-help like book there. Sorry. Anyway, the Bell's Hells decide that they need to go help Keyleth. And in doing so, they have to go to the Grey Valley, this like haunted wasteland near Zephrah, in order to find this magical perennium flower. At least I think it's called perennium. Matt obviously said something very different on stream and then immediately regretted it. Oh man, that's gotta suck. But they go, they find the flower, they fight lots of stuff. It's not that I don't care about any of this, but I will say that the only thing I really cared about at the end of it was the fact that Fern made a new friend. While they were there, they happened across this champion of Asmodeus, and Fern being Fern, I don't know, like hits on him. I don't know how it happened, but he gives her like this promise ring, which doesn't necessarily make Fern like one of Asmodeus's chosen, but it definitely doesn't not make her one of those. And I have to say, I love this for Fern. If it was going to happen to anyone, it had to be Fern. Um, Kind of like Chetney with that's or Travis with magical swords, like Fern making friends with Asmodeus just seems like it would fit her to a T. And I'm not just saying this because I will literally do anything to get Luis Carrazzo to appear as Xerxes in this campaign. But that would definitely be a perk. So anyway, they get the flower, they heal Keyleth, and then it kind of turns to like a planning session. They talk about everything they know about how there's a city on the moon and there's a whole ecosystem, and the Rylora are really jealous of everything that people on Exandria experience, and they want to experience it for themselves too. And in talking, they show Keyleth the harness that they found in Ludinus's old workshop. And they kind of throw out this theory that if Ludinus had been using it to steal the life force of creatures in order to prolong his life, perhaps there would be a way to modify it so that the Bell's Hells could also use it, not to steal, the life from creatures, but maybe harness some extra power as kind of like a way to amp themselves up. And if they can do this, I think it would be really interesting. It reminded me a lot of back in campaign 1 when Vox Machina was gearing up to battle Vecna, and even before that when they were fighting the Chroma Conclave and needed to find all the special weapons that they were looking for. Yeah, this could be interesting. Hopefully they'll be able to figure out a way of doing it without like up and killing the creatures that they take this power from, which is, I assume, what happened to the creatures that Ludinus came across. Uh, yeah, hopefully they find a decent way of doing it that doesn't turn them into villains as well. But yeah, it feels like, at least at the time when I was watching it, it felt like, okay, this could be a path forward. Now, about getting there, it seems like it may have gotten a little muddled in episodes that have happened since. So obviously, to fix this harness, they needed to make a choice of between Dancer and Dee, the two people that they know that are really great with machinery. They chose Dancer, who looked at the harness and said, who really could use this is Imahara, which no one thought of at the table as someone that they should go to and ask for help. But they get Dancer to come with them back to Bossaris so they can talk to Imahara about the harness. And what do they find when they get there but the Paragon's Call holding Joe hostage? And I didn't see this coming. I don't know why I didn't assume that the Paragon's Call would still be active in Bossaris. For whatever reason, I thought that they would be all like crowded around the Malaya's Key, like holding down the fort. Obviously, they don't need to with the Rylora there. So yeah, they had Joe making weapons for them. So the Bell's Hells, being the Bell's Hells, roll up in there and a big old battle ensues. But really clutch move from FCG was early on in that fight. They managed to cast Banish on General Ratanish. And later Matt said that made all of the difference. In an episode of Foresighted Dive, Matt had mentioned that if they hadn't worked, if Ratanish had been there for the battle, it would have been a situation most likely where they would have had to try to take in the Harajo and just run and escape and hopefully not die in the process, like happened when the first time they faced Otahan Thul. So really clutch move by FCG. That was awesome that they did that because it allowed the Bell's Hells, and it was still like a tough fight for them to take out the rest of the Paragon's Call members and then gang up on General Ratanish so that the moment he bamfed back in, they could take him out. Very awesome move. Joe, obviously this kind of ruined his workshop, but Joe was able to look at the harness. He was there with a friend whose name has evaporated from my brain, so sorry about that. They do think they can probably fix the harness if they can maybe have a workshop to work on it in. Keyleth was there at that point, so well, I know a guy, he's a little bit cranky, but we could probably use his workshop, made everyone at the table think, oh, okay, Imahara Joe and Dancer are going to go spend some time in Whitestone with Percy. Which, it's just kind of the fun of this campaign is getting all the callbacks to previous campaign characters. And good old Percy, as we know, has not mellowed with age, so hopefully he is willing to help them a little bit, at least as much as he can. Obviously, Percy's not much of a magic dude. But it did kind of leave the Bell's Hells like plan of using the harness in the Shattered Teeth sort of in limbo. In the end, they did decide to like move forward and go to the Shattered Teeth and try to like learn what they could. But it does make me wonder, like, okay, but if you get there and you find a thing whose power you can take, how are you supposed to actually absorb it without the harness being there? But they're going to have to figure that out on the fly, as they always do. I am kind of excited for some of Ashton's mysteries about like their Titan blood kind of being unraveled, and just like watching Ashton's character progress, even just in these past few episodes, has been really kind of satisfying. Of everyone, Ashton is kind of the one who's stepping up into a sort of like quasi leadership role, which is like the last thing I would have expected. I kept like, I've said it before, I keep waiting for Imogen or Orem to like step up and start being the leader that this group needs. But of everyone, it looks like Ashton's the one kind of like grudgingly taking on this role of we need to do things, we need to make choices. I'm not going to make the choice necessarily, but I am going to make us come to some sort of consensus. And that's been really interesting. It's always funny when a character who doesn't have a very high like charisma stats ends up being the face of the party. Yeah. Obviously, Taliesin is a very experienced player, so if it was going to happen to anyone's character, I'm glad it was happening to him. Yeah, it should be interesting. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Drop a comment below. Let me tell me all about your favorite moments from these past few episodes. What did I miss? Tell me. And what are you looking forward to about the Shattered Teeth episodes? Do you think they're going to be able to find some extra power-ups, or do you think they're going to find something completely different? Give me all your theories. You know I love that. As always, please like and subscribe to our channel. It really helps us over here. And yeah, bye.